So this is not a design-centric session at all. This is more like business practices and some tools that you can use that would typically cost you thousands of dollars that you get for free if you're open source. So I'm just going to kind of run through this, and then at the end maybe we can just discuss what each of us use for our projects. Just kind of keep it pretty loose. So why do I say no cost? I'm saying no cost because free is a very contentious word in this community. So what I mean by no cost is you're not paying any money. Not free like free is here, free is in Sweden, just no money. So the first things we're going to cover are suites and integrated packages. Everybody knows about Google Apps, of course. It's proprietary, it's no cost, but there are some paid plans. I don't personally know what the benefits are of these paid plans. I don't mess with them. But of course you get email, groupware, collaboration, document sharing, all of that. And what's neat about the document sharing is it's relatively live updated, so you can see what people are doing with the document as you're looking at it. Notably, it does handle spreadsheets. A lot of other document sharing solutions do not. Now there's Zimbra. Zimbra handles a lot of the things that Google Apps does, namely groupware, email, stuff like that. Zimbra is an open source software package. Yahoo bought it recently. And you can download and install it on your own server if you like, or you can go through a hosting plan, which is what we do at Four Kitchens. Because I don't know about anybody else here, but dealing with email and being responsible for somebody's email is a huge headache. So it's usually worth the effort, or worth the money to just hand it off to somebody else, have them take care of it. Zimbra does include calendaring solutions and event handling, so it's all CalDAV. You can sync it with anything. You can sync it with Google Calendar.
It also has document management too, like WebDAV document management.
Mm-hmm. And some shared to-do list stuff that we don't really work with a whole lot, but it's there. It's got a bunch of stuff. And you can store documents, as Aaron mentioned. Now, documents cannot be shared simultaneously, like in Google Apps. So, as far as I know, it's basically uploading, downloading documents, not editing documents. There's not.
You can edit them live, but not multiple people at the same
right,
time.
exactly. So you may have Platinum changes. We haven't really worked with that. So we wouldn't typically recommend Zimbra for document sharing, but email, groupware, stuff like that, it's awesome. And if you want to install and run it yourself, it is totally free. And it is open source as well, so contribute back to the project. Now there's the Atlassian suite of products. Atlassian is not groupware stuff. This is actually a totally different kind of software package. It is open source. There are people who contribute plugins and extensions to Atlassian's various products. It's no cost for open source firms and projects, and this is probably the most valuable piece of information we will give you at this presentation. This stuff normally costs thousands of dollars, but if you contribute back to any open source project, Drupal, fill out that application, you will get all of their software for free for life.
The qualifier on that is that you have to expose it to the public, so you have to have an open project that's accessible to anonymous users on the site.
That's basically it. So make a project called Drupal, and it's your Drupal contrib stuff. And as long as it's exposed to an anonymous user, not necessarily be able to post, but to view, you get all that stuff for free. And we'll go over a lot of this stuff in detail a little bit later. But it is not, like I said, a comprehensive groupware site. It does not handle email. It does not handle calendaring. It handles issue tracking and project management, documentation stuff. It has some tools for integrating with SVN and a continuous integration package as well. The things that we use that we find most useful are Jira, the issue tracking package, and Confluence, the enterprise wiki package. So, all right, chat, conferencing, and telephony solutions. Chat, OpenFire. This is a cool little branding thing. We all know that Google Chat runs on Jabber, so your Gmail account is your Jabber account. Well, you can have your company email address be a Jabber account that works seamlessly with GChat. That can be supplied by any XMPP Jabber provider, but OpenFire is an open source chat solution that not only provides Jabber, but it provides gateways to other chat accounts. So by logging into your, bobsmith@company.com Jabber account, it can automatically log you into an AIM account, Yahoo, even ICQ if you're, living in 1997. And it supports group chats So you can have like a little company chat and broadcasting to multiple users in your Jabber network. Plus, it's secure and it's logged server-side. So you can you have a server-side record of all communication that's taken place through these accounts or gateways. If you're the kind of company that needs to kind of reduce liability by maintaining what your employees say, maintaining a record of that for clients or making promises or whatever, this is a very, very valuable solution because now you can actually log this stuff. But more importantly, you can go back and see what clients said, and if there's some kind of disagreement about, like, well, we agreed to deliver this but not that, you can actually check the logs, and it's in a central place that everybody can look at, not on a local hard drive that can get dumped every so often. Then, of course, there's Skype and IRC, and I'm sure we all know about Skype and IRC, but for whatever reason, Skype isn't really used a whole lot in the United States, and I want to sort of spread the word about that because it's really, really, really useful. The only thing you have to pay for in Skype is calling. So if you want secure IM, it does that. It also allows, we found on a recent project, and I need to add this to this slide, let's say you want to have some kind of a log, like a Twitter-style log, where you say, hey, I make commit number 4072, it does this, this, and this. You know, you can subscribe these people to this chat and leave these messages so that the next time they log in, they get a backlog of all of these little sort of tweets in a way. They're IMs, but think of them like tweets related to a specific project or a specific group of people. So if you are working with a team that's, you know, a client team that's co-located in, say, you know, New York, London, there's a guy in Denver, and you're in Texas, you can just leave a message for all of these people that they will see every time they load up Skype. It's very, very useful just for kind of dropping a note here and there. Here's what I've done, can you please check this? And not have to go through the overhead of a bunch of emails and threads. And of course there's IRC, which has a very low barrier to entry, but it's definitely not secure. And it's not logged unless you want to install a channel bot. And channel bots are mostly kind of just for fun. And they can say funny things, but it requires, you know, having to learn how to run a bot. So telephony, asterisk, the site runs on Drupal, bonus points. It is an open source PBX package, so it can handle VoIP and other telephony applications. But to take full advantage of it, you may have to purchase some hardware that is provided by a company called Digium. They have these PBX appliances. You can install this on just some machine you have lying around, that's fine, but there may be some OS level changes you have to make. I believe it just runs on some version of Linux. I don't want to be any part of configuring that, but it's something worth looking into. And of course you will probably have to buy VoIP phones. Unfortunately those are kind of expensive, as all commercial grade phone systems are, but Asterisk is good for just a lot of you know, phone call routing, message boxes, stuff like that.
If you don't want to have to configure it, there's a pretty nice prepackaged setup called Trixbox for this, Trixbox,
Nice.
and they offer, like, they'll sell you a hardware version of it, or you can just download like prepackaged Linux installs that already have Asterisk up, going, configured. So you basically you can drop it on a machine or drop it in like even VMware just to test it. So
Nice.
That's kind of a cool thing if you just want to test that out.
Okay. And it's called Trixbox?
Trixbox, Trixbox.
Okay. So again, I realize most people here are not, you know, sysadmins, but if you do work with somebody or you're in a position to grow your, you need a telephony system all of a sudden, this is a low-cost solution, low to no-cost solution for that.
We're using that at common places, and it works. We just
It does work. Prepared to, you know, have to configure a few things here and there, but, you know, that's how it is in open source. You know, Drupal isn't going to do what you want to do out of the box, but it's not terrible. So here are some other little helpful apps and services that hopefully will make your life a little bit easier dealing with clients or collaborating internally. I'm sure we all know about Delicious at this point, but something that I want to point out about it is it's not just a good personal tool for organizing your own bookmarks, it's good for sharing bookmarks as well, and not simply using the for tag. We all know the for tag, you know, for:username, and it'll put it in their inbox. That's all right, but let's say you create a tag that you use internally for your company. So one that we use, for example, is fk-website. And if any of us in the company tag something fk-website, it shows up on the Delicious feed in the bottom of our website. And that's using the Delicious module, either the Delicious module or just the feed API. So that's a way to create quick meetings or presentations on the fly, you know, fk-client thing, and then bring that up in Delicious, you know, delicious.com/tag/fk-client thing. You've got your little feed there and you can just run through it. Very easy way just to give people a list of links and to build on it dynamically. Remember the Milk is a really awesome task and reminder sharing utility. Emphasis on sharing. I used it a long time just for personal stuff, like birthday coming up. Every 3 months I have to, you know, check the oil in the car. But it's also great for sharing entire lists of tasks. So you can have project-oriented tasks, internal company tasks, HR tasks, and you share that with the appropriate people. Some of the syncing features require a pro account, but otherwise it's free. So if you don't care that much about syncing to your BlackBerry or iPhone or whatever, you don't need to pay $25 a month. What's great about Remember the Milk is it handles revolving tasks very, very, very well. So you can add a task that says, due on January 2nd, repeats every 18 days, or every 3rd month.
And you can set it all in just plain English, so you don't have to go through these complicated UI interfaces. You just say, first Monday every month, and it knows what to do.
Yeah, you literally type that in, and it does it for you. And we'll demonstrate that in a moment. It's also good just for sending reminders because it can send you a Jabber text, it can SMS text you, email you, whatever. So it can just blast reminders for high priority things to a number of people. Doodle is something that shows up occasionally on Drupal.org. There are a number of services that do things like this. It's an easy way to schedule meetings very, very quickly. So let's say you have 5 people and they're all co-located at different time zones, whatever, and you need to get a call or some kind of a thing put together very quickly, and you don't want to have this email exchange like, hey, how about these times? Somebody pick from this list of times. Like, well, that's good for me. Okay, let's do that. Wait, that one doesn't work for me. Instead of having that nasty back and forth that's very confusing and nobody really remembers when the meeting is, you go to this website, you set up a matrix of times. You know, we can meet either Monday or Tuesday at 9:15, 10:15, or 11:15. People go in there and check off when they're available, and then you see the total at the bottom, and you know immediately what time works best for everybody, and then you just pick it and run. We can demo that in a moment too. Etherpad is, think Pastebin. Has everybody here worked with Pastebin at some point, just dumping code? Pastebin is a service, to backtrack just a moment. It's a way to drop in a bunch of code for somebody to look at, or CSS or whatever, and you get a URL and you can share that with people, and that way you're not dumping all this stuff into a chat room or an IM thing or an email. It'll format it nicely, monospace the text, so it's very, very readable. But what Etherpad does that Pastebin does not do is Etherpad allows you to live edit this stuff. So Pastebin is a one-way communication. You paste in your code, get the URL, send it to somebody, they look at it and they say, well, there's a problem here, here, and here. Instead of doing that, they can go to Etherpad and just fix the problems. And you see their changes character by character instantaneously. Unlike Google Docs where there's, you know, a 10 to 15 second delay anytime you make a change, this is immediate and it highlights in certain colors all of the changes that everybody's making according to all the people in that little text editing room.
And,
Problem. Oh, go ahead.
and unlike Google Docs, it requires 0 configuration or authentication. So you literally just go to the website, click a button, and it starts your, you know, chat session immediately. It gives you a URL, you give that person the URL, boom, they're inside. So none of this sharing a document, logging onto your Google account.
Right.
And so the downside is that
It is not secure. So anybody can access that URL at any point and they'll see what it is that you're doing. So don't write sensitive client emails in there. However, if you do want to drop whatever it costs for some kind of an account, it does have secured editing. It does allow people to authenticate to actually gain access to something. But if you're just doing something like we need to collaborate quick on a to-do list, you go in there, punch it around, and then cut it out of the document, and then it's an empty document, and you walk away from it. Just very good one-off editing stuff. So now I'm going to go over our collaboration stack and how we interact with our clients. We use the following Atlassian tools. We use Jira for issue tracking and project management. We made a number of customizations to Jira. We are a Scrum shop. We operate every project according to Agile methodology. So we have created certain types of tasks that are not tasks, they're not bugs, they're not new feature requests, they're Scrum stories. So we file all of the Scrum stories, user stories, into Jira. The client goes in and prioritizes everything for us. They're the product owner, that's the product backlog. They prioritize everything. We create a new project in Jira, and that is, well, a new release in Jira, and that is the sprint. So we file things into sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. It can be modified to have certain states that are more granular than in progress, or closed, or resolved. You can have things like needs info from client, needs screenshot, needs duplication, like we need to be able to duplicate this problem. So that's our issue tracking and project management.
It also allows you to set custom fields. So for instance, we added custom fields for like Scrum points, Scrum priority, and things like that.
So when we do our planning poker, we just sit around Jira and add in all the points for all of those issues and stories. Confluence, we do internal documentation stuff, so things as mundane as shopping lists, we need more paper towels. Or things that are complicated and fairly secure, like proposals. Internally, we write all of our proposals in Confluence. Most recent release of Confluence, which came out maybe a week or two ago, has fully customizable style sheets for PDF exporting of documents. It is now a word processor. You collaborate on writing a proposal for a client, export to PDF. They have a very nice looking, organized PDF, table of contents, everything. Email it to them, you're done. You can even customize it to have your logo in the lower right hand corner, page X and Y, whatever you want to do. It's also good for storing securely some information like passwords for some shared accounts. If you have like the company Twitter account, there are a number of people who need access to the password for that. Store that stuff there in one central place. Anything else about Confluence? We can get into the details a little bit later. Okay.
How do you like the Atlassian stuff overall? I mean, obviously you're using single sign-on, so you're using more than one piece there.
Right. Right now we're just using those two besides the single sign-on. We haven't, I don't know if they've done releases of the other things recently, major releases.
No, we haven't really. I mean, they have things like Fisheye for code review.
They have an SVN integration. We don't use SVN, we use Bazaar. So we're one of those people.
But we actually have it set up so it is linked into Jira. So when we make a commit, we put the Jira issue tag in the commit message, and it will link it to that issue when you view it on the Jira website. Or
You're going to talk about why you picked Bazaar over.
No, I'm not going to get into that argument.
If you want to see this on our blog, David Strauss, one of our co-founders,
Yeah,
has multiple blog posts.
Oh yeah, and people get nasty. They get, the teeth are bared. All right, so Crowd is a single sign-on. It's also an OpenID provider. So you can provide OpenID for anybody in your company with Crowd. Even better, it allows group and role assignment in one place. So when you need to get your clients access to their project space, like let's say you're working with ice cream company, and the manager and the marketing director for ice cream company, they need access to the stuff that you were documenting on the wiki for them, how to use your website, right? You create their accounts in Crowd, you assign them certain groups, like Confluence user, you can create a new type of group, ice cream company, assign all those people to that group, assign that group to a certain space and to a certain project in Jira, and they immediately have access to everything. Okay. Document sharing. We use Confluence for proposals and how-to guides. It's also really good for doing step-by-steps on how to commit stuff to CBS. We have a lot of Drupal, publicly accessible Drupal documentation on there. We do still use Google Apps for spreadsheets, because there's not really another good spreadsheet sharing solution out there. And occasionally, very rarely, lo-fi presentation outlines, because they've added like a PowerPoint type thing. Zimra handles our email calendaring and shared address book. So we have a company-wide address book of all of our clients and contacts. We have chosen 01.com as our hosting provider. Relatively few problems with them so far. There have been some outage periods, but they get things up and running pretty quickly. They are good about thoroughly vetting the version of Zimbra before actually installing it. They don't just get install happy and say, all right, new version, install it. They wait like literally a month or two, and sometimes that's a little frustrating, but they're testing it that whole time. And they are, I think, starting to roll out full BlackBerry integration, so like that live sync stuff, the enterprise BlackBerry stuff. I don't use it, but
Yeah, we have an Exchange that has Exchange support. So like I have an iPhone, and so I get live push for iPhone for events and email.
we use Asterisk for our telephony stuff. We do actually have an appliance, but we were able to negotiate a deal. You know, hey, we're an open source company, can we get a bargain on this? We get like free lifetime support. So you can always really push the open source thing and get a deal out of people, especially if you can just, you know, like say something on your website, you know, hey, we use this, and they're cool because they gave us a discount. We use OpenFire for our Jabber, Gchat, and AIM, MSN, Yahoo gateways.
Yeah, did that part make sense to you, the gateways? So you still have to set up an AOL and Yahoo account and MSN, and you would only do this if you have clients who are just stubborn and they're still on MSN or Yahoo, and you know, you don't want to have to fire up a separate account. This, but you create these accounts, and then in the OpenFire administration section, you tie them to your one Jabber account. And so in ADM, you don't have to add all these accounts. You add one account, and it has you logged into all of those services.
It's proxies.
The proxies, all that
It's
stuff.
proxies, so.
Yeah.
And you can
Now-
combine contacts, so
The
it's just
question
one
is,
person.
are you better off proxying or keeping separate accounts? Because there's advantages to not having to go through a proxy if you're
Right.
having.
If you're going through this, it's logged and secure up until the point it goes out to the other service. So if you want to log this stuff, then you should proxy it.
That's a good.
If you would rather not, and it's like a personal account, then just, you know, use a software package like Fire or ADM and log in to multiple accounts from there. And Skype, of course, you know, international, and once you get into the world of international work, Skype is kind of like the backbone of communication. You can't really avoid it.
Do you guys, we have the same setup, Asterisk and OpenFire, but a lot of our clients use Skype and stuff. Do you have Asterisk hooked up to Skype yet?
No, we haven't. No, someday we will. That'll be cool when we do. But that is an option. They do. Do you want to speak for a moment about how they integrate?
I mean, I haven't done it before. I just,
Okay.
I mean, I know that there's some software, different tools to do it.
Yeah.
That are actually set up.
One of the cool things about Asterisk is you not only set up a bunch of menus and extensions and routing and mailboxes, you can also have call-in conference numbers. You know, everybody call into this one line, you hit your PIN, everybody's there. You can adjust the number of phone lines you allow on the fly. So when you start paying for those services, you pay per line per month, not per minute per user, as some other conference systems do, so it can actually be quite cost effective. Otherwise, of course, there's just Skype, which serves sort of the same function. Fidelity isn't as high. You know, one or the other. So what we highly, highly suggest is, yes.
Two other things with the Asterisk is, we have this, do you use like service records, so you can use like your email address for your SIP address and for your instant messaging?
Oh, I don't think so. No, I don't think
So
so.
that's, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You set up like service records, and then you can have your email address be one way to contact you, like for email, voice, and
Oh, that's
instant
fantastic.
messaging.
Okay, cool. No, I didn't know about that.
And then with that, you can also have set up for calling, like make it kind of like a calling card, your Asterisk. So if you need to do international calls, and you're just on your cell phone somewhere, you just call into your Asterisk server,
Yeah.
dial a password, and then it gives you an outgoing line, and you can call wherever you need to call.
Yeah, when you're talking about the sort of single point of contact with an email address, the thing that we have established, and we'll need to look into what you mentioned here with the actual phone number tied to the email address. With Jabber, you know, you can use your email address as your chat username, todd@4kitchens.com. AIM has yet again opened up usernames with the @ symbol in it. So for AOL Instant Messenger, you can create todd@4kitchens.com. So to get a hold of me, whether you're using, you know, Jabber, Gchat, AIM, email, it's all todd@4kitchens.com. And, you know, talk about a cool looking business card. It's also just like, how do you get a hold of me? todd@4kitchens.com. Like, just use your imagination. And it's a cool branding thing too. All right, so we highly suggest minimizing maintenance because some of these things, when you're working with software that's free, there's a time suck in configuring it and maintaining it. You need to have a really stable web host because if your web host goes down, not only your website goes down, your email goes down, and then if you're running, like VoIP stuff through there, then your phone goes down.
Single point of failure.
What's that?
Single point of failure.
Right, exactly. So, distribute that stuff. And also doing upgrades and patches and maintenance like that is, you need an IT person to handle all that. And talk about a headache, and if they're also a developer, they don't want to be doing IT. That's just...
The guy who set up our Asterisk server, basically, it took quite a while. I mean, because he was trying to do development and other things. And he's no longer with us. And I think part of the reason he finally got frustrated was because he was spending so much time internally, and then of course he's hearing, well, you don't have any billable hours, and it's like, yeah, because he was working on stuff internally, and those were internal billable hours, but that's the invisible side of things, but it's no fun. I mean,
Right.
Even if you're working internally and you're doing something productive, at the end of the day, it's nice to say, I did something that you can go see, not,
Right.
the phone system works.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those niche skills, like how many people really need to learn and maintain knowledge about how to run a PBX, So you sometimes paying for software support or hosting is just more cost effective because, and not necessarily just cost effective, but more morale effective. You want your developers to be developing. You don't want them to be reading the manual on integrating Skype and Asterisk. No matter how cool it is, it can be offensive to them and morale suck. So we maintain our Atlassian installation, and admittedly, that part sucks. It requires a bit of time, but we do have everything on our servers, and the balance there was, do we want it on Atlassian servers or ours? Also, did we want to pay the extra monthly fee? When we first set it up, we said we'll just put it on our servers, but that may change as we find that we're spending too much time maintaining it, and then we'll send it back to them. OpenFire we run on our own server because I don't know of a hosted solution for OpenFire. Does anybody?
We use a company called Lilacs, and they're just a VPS provider that specializes in voice IP.
Oh, nice.
And you can install, like, when you sign up for them, you can choose which Asterisk distro you want, like Asterisk at Home, PBX and Flash, and one we use is called Elastics. Elastics has a distro, CentOS based, that has Asterisk and OpenFire on them.
Cool. That's called Lilacs?
Lilacs, LYLIX.net, I think.
By the way, Asterisks at Home became Trixbox, so that's another one of those yet.
Okay.
And one of the nice things too, just really simple, like small things, but OpenFire can connect with Asterisk. There's some plugin, and you enable it, and it'll change your IM status when you're on the phone and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay.
What termination provider do you use?
That's a David Strauss question. So here's what we don't maintain. We don't maintain Zimmer, that's hosted, so when there are email issues, we call somebody and yell at them. We also never, ever, ever put ourselves in charge of clients' emails. Like, if they want hosting from us, which is exceedingly rare that we would ever consent to this, they have to go to 01.com. They have to use Google Apps. We will not post their email because the last thing you need to do is text support at 3 in the morning because somebody's email isn't working. You're there to build websites, not handle their connectivity.
I'm curious why you went with Zimber rather than something like Google Apps.
We wanted to control all of our own data, first of all. At the time, it had better calendaring support in terms of syncing and sharing, I believe. Google Apps has since opened up to CalDAV. What else did we do? We basically, part of it is sort of a slight paranoia.
We trust Google, but don't trust them too much.
Yes, exactly. I think that was a big piece of it. And also, Google Apps, who do you call?
Yeah. There's an outage, you're screwed.
Yeah. So, Zimbra, you call 01, or you call whoever. I think Zimbra itself offers a hosted solution, but
Google Apps doesn't have the enterprise package, but
yeah, I don't remember the reasons exactly.
Zimbra looks nicer too. I mean, Zimbra looks like what you would expect from an email app. Gmail is kind of, I mean, I use Gmail, but we use Zimbra through the school I went to, and it was pretty nice.
Yeah. I actually only use the Zimbra interface for calendaring. I still prefer mail.app because maybe I'm crazy, but and then Asterisk, sort of, the hardware is installed on site, so we're responsible for the physical state of the hardware, but we have a support plan through Digium that we got basically for free because we're open source. So when something goes down, they SSH into the box, they fix it, they check out the logs, and then that way we don't have to rely on our IT expert to fix the phones when they go down. We can actually call somebody on our cell phones to put our phone system back up. So keep a cell phone handy. All right, so that's everything. I guess we can go through some of this stuff like Confluence and Jira, unless anybody has anything you want to add or any questions.
I've got a question, maybe this will get answered. So for online demonstration, you've got a client, you want to show something off, you want to be able to do a directed demo, so they're following your screen.
We used to use DimDim, which was a free service.
Free up to 20 users, I think, right?
Yeah, and then we just started experiencing really poor performance, and that's the one time you don't want, like when you have to do a live demo to a client, it's the one time you want it to be reliable. So we quickly switched to Adobe Connect, or it's called Acrobat Connect or something like that. And there's a pro version which has a lot of extra features for like media management, things like that. But there's the non-pro version just called Adobe Acrobat Connect. It's like $40 or $50 a month. You can't have multiple web conferences at a time. You just have one room you go to. So you just have one URL. The nice thing about that is you just have one URL. So regardless of when you're meeting, you know that URL. And I think it, you have to download an application. I think it all runs in Flash, but it seems to work pretty well.
Yeah, there is a second screen sharing solution that says it's free, and I forget what it is, but
We're using one called Glance, I think it's glance.net. And that seems to be right now probably the easiest. All you do
with a C or an S?
Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah. So all you do is you give them. You basically sign up. You get a custom third level domain. You say go to commonplaces.glance.net. There's a session ID. They put it in. They get in the browser. They get to see what it is you're doing on your screen. You get an icon at the bottom. So you're running a client. They're not running anything. They're just seeing the browser.
Yeah. Did you say it was free?
I think you can try it for free. It's really not very expensive, but I mean that's a perfect example where there's free solutions. VNC has existed forever, but the advantage of something like this is it's hosted. Basically you're sending your screen up, and you don't have to worry about it after that.
Right.
You don't have to tunnel things through your firewalls, etc., so they can get to your session.
Yeah. Quick word of warning about GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting I haven't had a lot of problems with, but there's also something called GoToWebinar, which maybe they acquired. I don't know, but it's actually a different thing. If you go to GoToWebinar, you will eventually wind up at gotomeeting.com, but it somehow keeps track of you having landed there, and it will not work on a Mac. So when you are working with mixed platforms, and you're using GoToMeeting, do not set up a GoToWebinar. I wasted 45 minutes during a meeting trying to get it to work, and then I had to run it through a virtual machine. So, anyway.
A big problem with a lot of those is if you want to control the desktop on the Linux side, most of them don't support that. And
Really?
ones that I've tried out. There's one that's if you're running Linux and run it, it's called Vue, V-Y-E-W. That's kind of okay.
You might also try Yugu. I don't know that we ever used it for client stuff, but it is Java based, so it should run on Linux as well, and it is free. Y-U-U-G-U-U.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so this is, I guess we'll just sort of quickly walk through Jira. This is what it looks like. This is just like a default dashboard. In the upper right, you can create a bunch of filters like projects that have been resolved, that were assigned by somebody to me in a certain project. You can get very, very granular.
Does this do time tracking?
Sort of. it allows you to track how much time an issue was in progress. So if you want to fit it to that, you can. But the time tracking solution we use, which we were talking about earlier, is
Yeah,
Harvest.
the thing, I think the problem I think we get into is that, yes, we can track it all here, but you can't export it easily into something where you can, we need to be able to quickly turn it into invoices.
Right, right.
And this definitely does not do invoices.
So it's not as beneficial for us to log the time.
We're currently using that task, and because we went through a bunch of different things, we were using, I forget what it was for project management, and Eventum. We're using Eventum, then we switched to another web-based service, and then sort of now we're, this is one of those things where it keeps changing because nobody's happy with it. We switched to @task, and the thing about @task is it's really good in certain ways and sucks in others. It's like a lot of those things, especially when you go to a hosted solution, you're sort of at the mercy of whoever's hosting it. So something that's in-house would be great, but I haven't found one that does sort of everything from soup to nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to add yet another another web app. We use Harvest. Agri QuickBooks is also very good. And we basically just use it to track time and send out invoices. It lets you do things like you can set up estimates for projects. You can do it by task, by person, whatever.
So you can see how much did you think this project was going to take. It'll actually give you a nice little bar, and then you can start to sweat as you approach, the end of it, and then watch it go over.
Yeah.
It is useful to know, though, just to constantly refine and recalibrate your ability to.
There's a lot of good,
So you guys are using Harvest.
Yeah, there's a lot of good reporting too. If you need to see where did our time go this month, you can see it broken down by projects and clients.
Can I just ask, because you just said something that FreshBooks doesn't do, and that really interested me. So you could set up an estimate, and then the buckets are automatically created for your devs to be tracking time against, and it's showing you, like you said, the
Yeah, it has
progress.
a constant progress bar,
Really?
against your. So you set up a client, and then you can set up a project underneath each client and set up an estimate per project, and it'll just have a simple little, horizontal bar graph showing you use time versus total time.
Right. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
And how can you do invoices based on projects? So you don't have to because I do everything on a per project basis, so having something where the only invoice I can spit out is hours.
Yeah, you say new invoice, select the client, select the project, select the time range, and then from there, the thing I love is you can email invoices.
Yeah, well, that's what I do with the solution I've been using, but I need something that's not specific to my desktop because I go everywhere.
So you can enter time through the website. There's a desktop widget. You can use your cell phone to enter time. There's an iPhone app. There's also, if you don't have an iPhone, there's a web interface that you can enter time. They create a mobile interface to track time through. You can Twitter your time in.
Yeah, we looked at using Harvest, but we basically wanted something that did project management too, and this did project management.
We found that it's, it seems to diverge in terms of how can something do both things very well, and then can it be extensible enough to fit in your own project management style, which in our case is Scrum. So
yeah, we're not 100%. We're using @task, and it's not quite perfect, but
that may be a conversation for
That's not a
offline.
designer thing.
no, Scrum is
It could be a design thing. It's used for some clients in a design arena, but that's we can talk about that outside because that's like a whole other world, project management styles. So.
There's open slots. You can just schedule a Scrum thing.
Are there stuff? I think that would get confusing and messy very quickly without some good diagrams.
So, if you have an invoice in here, you sent it to the client, but now you want to actually get that hooked up with your accounting system, is there any way to do that? Your accounting system.
Yes, there's
QuickBooks or whatever.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know. We use QuickBooks too, and
It's easier to just manually put in there.
Yeah, I find that we just create the new invoice, and we don't even use any of the details, we don't even put any of the details in QuickBooks, like we leave all the details in progress. Lets you, I mean, it says right here, let's you export your time to QuickBooks or CSV, but I don't really see how that's helpful. So, I agree, it would be
What I
awesome, just
want
like,
is specifically invoices, like this is the number, this is the project number.
Yeah. Well, the way Harvest breaks down something is first by client, and then all the projects underneath that client, and then all the types of tasks that can apply to each of those projects for that client.
Okay.
So your tasks can be design, development, project management, communication, however you want to
And you
dice
can
it.
set up.
and the
you
tasks,
can
yeah, the
set
tasks
up
are universal
password.
across
Per
all
person, per
projects.
project, or, yeah, it's very, very granular, it's neat. Yeah, but it is paid, which is,
I'm really okay with paying
Okay.
if it does what I need it to do,
Yeah.
and I don't have to be
I mean,
physically.
invoicing is
in the
pretty
office to do it.
important.
it is.
Exactly,
I
like,
think you can
I
spend some
like to
time.
get paid,
Yeah.
and, if I can have something that like takes care of that stuff for me,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
happy.
I think a lot of these solutions, and it's true for, I think, almost everything you talk about, it really depends on the size of the organization. I mean, if you're a real small organization, certain things are invaluable, other things are less useful, you get bigger, and then other things become more important, and other things become less useful.
Exactly.
So for someone who's freelancing, $12 a month, I would say is, you get
Yeah.
one user, but you get all into projects, clients, and obviously invoices, SSL security.
Yeah. Rules of the widget.
Looks like they also have a free plan if you just want to try it out.
Yeah, if you,
Yeah.
3 active users, no wait, 2 projects, 4 clients. So, yeah, I think all of these.
Was the business plan unlimited, or is there then additional every time you go over?
No, it's
something?
additional per user,
Okay.
so yeah, so they really did fit, I mean, a lot of these plans, a lot of these services have basically figured out that they can offer the absolute bottom level for free so somebody can try it out, and then the bigger you are, the more you're gonna pay, and that makes sense, basically, they really want,
It's a great model,
yeah.
because then people get used to using it, and then they join some other company, and they just evangelize. It's smart.
Yeah, like Basecamp used to offer a free plan, and now I think they still technically do. Like one of my friends blogged about Basecamp doesn't offer it anymore. And the customer service rep going and touches it. Actually, in the bottom of the right sidebar on this one plan page, there's a plain text link with no underline that's not colored differently, and you click that, and that gets you a free plan.
Sounds like, sounds like a help message from
No,
57.
actually, this is interesting because that leads to a whole question of when you look at some of these services and somebody says, well, we could do that with Drupal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's a real dangerous
Good,
slippery
yeah.
slope, is you start
It is.
insourcing all of your stuff like that, and you start
Again,
doing it yourself.
to go back, mentally to the slide, minimizing maintenance.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Not only do you have to maintain your own Drupal groupware invoicing time tracking solution, you have to build it.
Right,
You know?
and maintain it.
Don't do that. You don't have to eat that much dog food.
Yes.
Just
Yes. I don't think there's a single Drupal shop that does eat their own dog food for this stuff.
Yes.
There is.
Depseed.
There is.
Development
Depseed.
seed.
Yep.
Really?
It's pretty sick.
Oh, big time. They eat dog food all day, but it's beautiful.
It is.
It looks, it's the best looking dog food you're gonna find.
It's
Right.
only gonna get better.
Yeah, check it out. It's called Eight
If
Trees.
you need a good bug and issue tracker, we use sifterapp.com.
Sifter app.
Yep. It's called a bug and issue tracker. It's written by a former coworker of mine, Garrett Diamond. It's pretty
Okay.
cool.
Cool.
We can set different statuses. Like there's the base statuses like open ticket, closed. But
Yeah.
we have like our whole QA process. So we have like I can set an issue to resolve, but it's not actually closed and off the
Until
shelf
somebody checks it
until our
out.
QA department
That's
says.
pretty,
it's
yeah,
closed,
that's
you know.
pretty typical.
And then reopened issues like they're visually called out more than just to open issues. So you know like, oh, this keeps recurring. I should
Exactly.
tackle that before I tackle this one
Yeah.
bug that came in.
And if you don't need an integration within a suite, then that sounds like a good solution. But now, I mean, you'll see that Jira here is not as like Web 2.0, like gradients and pretty. But what it does very well is integrate across the various pieces of software. So you can reference Confluence documents in Jira. You can reference Jira issue queues in Confluence using very simple macros.
What does Jira run on?
Java.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
that was, I think, one of the reasons we rejected it.
It eats
So
a
we
lot of
We
server
couldn't,
resources.
we didn't want to go with that because of the Java thing. We said,
Yeah.
we got all the PHP experts, can't we find something that'll do it?
Yeah.
That's why we.
But then, you get a hosted solution, never have to think about it.
Yeah.
So,
I think the Citra app is Rails,
I think that we
not
like
that it matters
this.
if
So
it's hosted.
one hurdle we have to try to tackle is trying to get our clients to use this system. I think the easiest way to kind of let them do it is whenever you like, it has this whole email notification system. So if they're marked as like a, you know, an admin being the client, you know, they'll receive email notifications. And if they want to make a comment about it, instead of having to come to the site, log in, they can just reply to that email notification, and it'll turn it into a comment on the issue.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'll give a shout out to the feedback module, feedback 2.0, since the feedback 1.0 is something different. Feedback 2.0, it's a real simple module. All it does is on your Drupal site and by default, the bottom right hand corner, but you can tweak that obviously. It puts a little feedback flag. Perfect for clients.
Yeah.
You go ahead and you bring it up, they bring it up, and it's just a single fill in the stuff. Because it's being done in Drupal, you have access to the user, the URL, the whole works.
Oh, wow.
It does store it internally as a table, and so you could just manage it there.
Are the feedback items each filed as nodes?
They're each filed at, no, they're not filed as nodes, it's just being done as a table.
Okay.
I went ahead and basically opened up an issue to, can we do something with email? And to make a long story short, we talked about this, and I'm not sure if there's been a patch committed yet, but the idea was to make it available to rules, actions, etc. But what I specifically did, I patched it for myself, that it would go ahead and do a mailing out to a configurable address, from a configurable address as well, because I've got it feeding into add tasks, because on add tasks we have basically a mailbox queue, so we can create tickets from whatever comes into the mailbox. And one of the limitations there is it has to be a valid user, which is why I've got it set that I can control who it's from and to. But what happens there is they go ahead and they put something in, I can then, in this case it's real simple because I can't feed all that information into the full ticket, but there's no reason if you have a good API and want to do something that you couldn't log. It was on this URL with this user, here was the refer, here was the browser, you have all those informations. So your client doesn't have to know any of that stuff. They're on a page and they get an error, they can just pop open the feedback and go, I had a problem with this, done. It closes again, it just closes shut. So it's a real transparent thing that basically all they do is they have a feedback button and it opens up, they type it, they close it again. I think that's really where we need to start seeing our feedback process go. It just overall, when a client says there's an issue, we shouldn't have to say, well, okay, what were you doing?
Right.
The system knows what they were doing. We have enough status to be able to say, okay, if you just say you had a problem here, and it creates a ticket, somebody can go figure it out. At that point, they can say, I know the user, I know where they were, maybe you need to go back and get additional info, but and there's no reason you couldn't at that point, say, okay, so we know where they were in the log, what were they doing, go back and track it.
Right. No, that's really neat.
That's really useful, because we had a client recently, like, that were submitting the, they would just email, just like fire, just like emailing out these like problems with the website, but they wouldn't give a URL.
Exactly. Exactly. And so that's what's nice about this. So total shout out for the feedback. I think I'd like to really see people using that one because we can turn it into something that's good for. In this case, it's not just about, I'm a user on a website and I want to get feedback to the system, and this is really the development process.
Yeah.
We can be using that to catch all this information.
Okay, cool.
And it is, like you mentioned, that it sends the browser information as well.
Yeah, it actually integrates with browser cat, so if you really want to know all the specific, just having the standard stuff is not enough, the user agent. If you really want to get specific, it'll use the browser cat module and give you, the more detailed information from that. But
Jody Hamilton from ZivTech also wrote a module that integrates that with Unfuddle, if anyone uses Unfuddle.
Yes, that just came out. That's what I like to see people writing APIs.
We
Just
start
start
to see
talking.
something happen for Jira or
Is it feedback on Fuddle, or?
Yeah, it just came out. It's like, I don't know what if you take a look, module just came out like a week or so ago. Yeah, and we're starting to see this really grow, and this is the reason that they rebooted that. That's why it says Feedback 2.0. Because Feedback 1.0 was basically a contact module and it wasn't really useful. This is
it's meant to be, I'm on the site, something just happened, or I don't understand, or whatever, you know, somebody's on a demo site that you've put up for them, and they go, this needs more help text, boom, they're done. You know where they were, et cetera, which, good luck in trying to get that from a user if they're frustrated.
That's cool.
Okay.
Well, it's about 10 minutes after, and so there's probably lunch out there.
Yeah.
But if anybody has like, other questions or whatever, this might be maybe we can put up a post somewhere in D4D, like specific to, like obviously this is more like company workflow centric, but if there are design centric open source tools or no cost tools for collaboration, then that would be a great conversation to start. Because then, we have a lot to learn from each other, obviously, about the tools we use.
Designers collaborate?
What?
I thought that was a no-no.
Like how many designers it take to screen the light bulb?
Is that-
One screen the light bulb, everybody else is like, "Okay, light bulb."